one sentence to say to WWE, and that's this. WWE ain't got shit on AEW. That's all I have to say here. This May 6th episode of AEW Dynamite was off the fucking chain. This was an awesome episode. A great way to moving forward into a possible having live audience very soon down the line. They were going all out for this show. They did a lot of things that I enjoyed. There's some questionable things about the world title match, but I'm happy with the opponent that Jon Moxley's facing, which I'll go over once I get to that point. But this show was fantastic. Wrestling was good. Storylines were good. MJF segments were awesome. I thought his segment was off the walls, funny as hell, and definitely something I'm looking forward to, seeing him eventually get a world title shot. But I don't feel that he should be the guy to beat Jon Moxley for the world title. I'll get into that once we get to the world title matchup that's set up with Jon Moxley and his new opponent for Double or Nothing. The first match right out of the gates was Cody versus Joey Janela. Awesome matchup. Absolutely fucking love this match. Joey Janela looked like $1 million in this match against Cody. Cody made him look good, or Joey Janela's just gotten better. I don't know which, and I really don't fucking care. Because Joey Janela showed in this matchup he can actually wrestle without having to do hardcore wrestling tactics. This was a fucking great match. 4 out of 5 stars. Easy, hands down. Great way to open up the show. Cody wins by Crossroads for the 1-2-3. A lot of kickouts, very close calls. And Joey Janela didn't look bad in losing this match. In defeat, he looked good, no matter what. Even though he was defeated, he still looked like he was awesome. And he definitely was in this match. After the match was over, Cody shakes Joey's hand in respect. And then we get a recap of what's going on with Nyla Rose. She finally is placed in a matchup which was a throwaway match. It was just basically a fucking joke. She actually had a conversation with Tony Schiavone before she headed to the ring. Nyla Rose laughed at the video package and she asked Tony who he thinks is the most dominant woman in the division. She cuts him off and says it's her. And it always has been her, and it always will be her. She orders him to do his job while she does hers in the ring. Tells him to shut up and whatnot. So Nyla Rose gets in the ring with Kenzie Page, an enhancement talent that had a debut matchup. Didn't do too bad, but she got demolished. And that was all there was to it. Powerbomb pin, 1, 2, 3, end of story. After we also notice Hikaru Shida and other women from the women's division stare at Nyla Rose with a very big time glare. From here, we had the best promo on the entire show tonight. We get MJF promo. He says that he's seeing a lot of wrestlers claiming that they're the next big thing. But being the big thing is different. After being on national television for only 6 months, he's the guy, but no one wants to admit it because they hate his guts. To quit Cody, they move the goalpost. It's because his haters are insecure because every top guy in his sport have to realize that 24-year-old kid has taken their spot and equals ratings. He's a prodigy and will be champion in the blink of an eye. He has more of the it factor in his pinky than most do in their bodies. He also goes on to talk about how he's being compared of not being like The Rock and Piper or Flair. But he's something that the world has never seen before, I should say. He's good enough to miss time. He's injured free, and when he comes back, his throne will be waiting for him. A normal red chair is actually removed, and then he's sitting on his replaced throne when he stands up. MJF will be back in action next week. We then get Shawn Spears recaps last week's main event and says he blames one man for how the match went, and he blamed Cody. He says Cody could have stopped and thrown in the towel to stop the match, but he suggests he didn't because he's selfish and thinks he alone can carry the Rhodes legacy. Shawn also says Dustin's career is over, and Cody has proven he can be cruel without even knowing it. MJF is interviewed ringside and says everyone will be looking forward to seeing a real professional compete next week, and credits Shawn Spears for calling out Cody Rhodes for who he really is. Spears says that MJF had the greatest comeback story ever, and MJF is so good, he's not just healthy, but he's overhealed. Tony says that he's been signed for Double or Nothing, and MJF will be going up against Jungle Boy. At that point, he spits his wine out of his mouth and couldn't believe it. Shawn Spears goes ahead and gives the funniest fucking look of anybody. He's like, eh? I thought it was fucking great. Freaking great segment. A great way to show a comedic side of Shawn Spears and MJF. Thought that was awesome. Fantastic. Matchup idea with him facing Jungle Boy, don't particularly like. I think the idea kind of blows. But hey, it's better than him being in a world title match with no fans in the audience. Whether he wins or loses, I would not have him in a world title match with no audience. That's just fucking ridiculous. We're talking about a 24-year-old, the same age that Randy Orton won his first World Heavyweight Championship. So let's get real here. You don't want to put a guy like MJF, who's 24 years old, has the mic skills of The Rock, and is a pretty average, okay wrestler. I think his wrestling ain't up to par yet, in my opinion. I think he's okay. But he ain't no fucking Cody Rhodes. He ain't no he ain't no Kenny Omega. He ain't no Frankie Kazarian. And hell, he ain't no better than Jon Moxley. And until he reaches a higher pillar of Jon Moxley, then you could say he's world champion material. But at the end of the day, does he have the look? Yes. Does he have the charisma? Absolutely. Does he have the mic skills? Definitely. The only issue I have with MJF is his wrestling. It's kind of boring to me. I think his match with Cody was a little bit below the standards I was expecting him to deliver with Cody Rhodes. I don't think it was as good as I was expecting it to be. So I was a little disappointed in that. I hope in his next matchup with Jungle Boy that changes my opinion a bit. But right now my opinion is his wrestling needs some work. And not that he's a bad wrestler. He's just, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't meet my style of wrestling that I enjoy watching. I'm not sure. But hopefully my opinion will change on that. And outside of his wrestling, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure other people will have a difference of opinion. I think people are probably okay with his wrestling technique and the way he wrestles in the ring. So if that's your opinion, absolutely, I totally understand that. That's your cup of tea, fine. Me, I just didn't feel it with his match with Cody Rhodes. But he knows how to put on a good show, number one. Number two, he definitely knows how to help build a storyline going into a major matchup for a pay-per-view event. He did a great job with Cody, so I give him hands down a lot of credibility for what he does in the wrestling business. Now, we get Jon Moxley versus Frankie Kazarian. Another good, entertaining matchup. This was another 4 out of 5 stars. And Jon Moxley wins with a paradigm shift. I have to mention something else here. Jon Moxley's t-shirt that he came out with the World Championship. Holy shit, I gotta get that fucking shirt. It looked like a similar look of Tommaso Ciampa, only with the paradigm shift written on the skull. I thought that was fucking cool as shit. So I definitely am interested in getting that fucking shirt down the line. Yeah, but this matchup, Jon Moxley, Frankie Kazarian match was excellent. Very enjoyable stuff. 4 out of 5 stars. After the match was over, though, the Dark Order comes out and attacks Moxley. The rest of the SCU comes out to help, but they get taken care of as well. Brody Lee comes out and says that he's just here to answer the bounty put on him, and he says there's no crowd to lift him up and none of their energy to spur him on. He's not the same person he dealt with in the past, referring to WWE, of course. He is now a leader and makes lives extraordinary. If any of the Dark Order will stand up and sacrifice themselves for him, it will be glorious. And Lee says Moxley is in possession of something he wants and something he desires, the AEW World Championship. So, let me scroll down here a little bit and see what else was stated, if I can even do that. What the hell happened to my computer? Alright, anyway, Jon Moxley goes on to state that all he had to do was ask. He would have given him the opportunity for the world title. And he said, yeah, I'm giving it to you. You got the match. So that was how that match came about. Now, I'm going to now discuss my issue with this. AEW has a ranking system for each World Championship division. Okay? I don't believe Brody Lee is in that top 5. Now, I could be wrong, and if I am, please correct me in the comments down below. But I haven't looked at the top 5 contenders in the World Championship division, so I'm not exactly sure 100%, but I wouldn't figure that Brody Lee would be one of those people, since he's only been there for only a couple of weeks, maybe a few months. I should say more a few months than a few weeks. But he's only been there for a couple of months, about 2 months to be exact. I mean, I don't see that grants him to be the top 5 best of the best of that division. And he's faced nobodies. He hasn't faced anyone significant or important in the company yet. He's faced mostly jobbers or someone like Marco Stunt or something of that nature. So, honestly, I don't feel that he would be a top 5 contender. But, does the match make sense? Absolutely. I totally agree with the idea of making this match happen. Not to mention, they're very short on a roster, so that's another thing I should take into account. And my apologies to everyone. But, on my end, I feel that maybe they could have had someone else, or better yet, not have the World Championship match happen at all, and make the TNT World Championship as the main event of the pay-per-view for Double or Nothing. I would have been totally fine with that. Not to mention the Cody Rhodes versus Lance Archer match makes a lot more sense to make as the main event because it's got so much story behind it, such as Lance Archer wanting to face Cody for the longest time. Now he's got that opportunity in this tournament for the finals to be crowned a new champion. So I kind of like that idea as being the main event anyway, and the world title could just been kept off of TV. But with this matchup, I'm okay with it because these two guys have past history with each other in the WWE. So it would be a little bit logical to do it in the sense of that kind of stuff, that they have past history. Otherwise, if you're talking about the actual contenders, I don't see Brody Lee as being a top 5. I could be wrong though, but I'm going to say he ain't. Now, after that segment was over, we get a Brandy Rhodes promo. She has a message for Brett Baker. She says, "We don't truly know her," and that she's the chief brand officer of AEW, and we must keep her name out of her mouth. Okay. And now my computer's freezing up again. But she also mentions about Jake the Snake Roberts and talking about him wanting to put her in a corner with Lance Archer and making her feel defenseless, while her husband comes to her rescue and puts her husband in a trap, which is the oldest trick in the book that would have worked in the 1990s, but not in today's day and age of wrestling. So that's what she had to say. She's also a person that can take care of herself. She is very well capable, apparently that's what she claims she is, to be. She's very, strong, self-willed, and so forth, and an empowering woman. So that was that situation. So we have QT Marshall versus Lance Archer next. This matchup was pretty, ordinary. Nothing major here. Nothing very special. Lance Archer, of course, was going to win this match. If he lost, I would wonder who the fuck lost their mind, or what drugs they're on, because I'd love to be on it. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, this matchup was definitely an obvious. We all knew who was going to win that match. If Lance Archer was to lose, what the fuck, man? What happened to AEW is what I would say. But here, I was very satisfied what they had to offer. And then Brett Baker, she actually goes ahead and tries to get involved in the match and actually hit QT Marshall in the face with her shoe. So Brandy Rhodes didn't exactly like that very much, so she took her shoe out of her hand and threw it into the Daily Place arena all the way in the upper deck, practically. At least that's what she was trying to attempt to throw the shoe at. That left a sour taste in Brett Baker's mouth, so she attacked Brett Baker attacked Brandy Rhodes after the match was over, threw her in, and she ended up being somewhat manhandled or assaulted. And then Jake the Snake Roberts decided, let's go back to 1991, back when Randy Savage had a wonderful snake bite him on the arm. Which, by the way, I do remember, and I thought maybe something like that was going to happen here. Fortunately, that was not the case, thank goodness. I would hate to think that Brandy would end up getting bitten by a snake. Whether it's defanged or not, it still would have been a very horrible situation, because from what I remember, a lot of people thought that that Randy Savage was being bitten. Like, literally was going to die or something like that. Me and my friend Matt were talking about that over the phone while we were watching the AEW, and he informed me that WWE has an untold episode on that, so I'm going to go and watch that. That's definitely something I'm interested in, hearing some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So at this point, I really have to say that was pretty fucking off-the-wall crazy. That was definitely old school as old school you can get. So you had the snake crawling all over, basically. The snake kind of crawled underneath her. I mean, it wasn't nothing special. I mean, they just had the snake on her and that was it. The snake didn't do anything to her or harm her or look like the snake was going to strangle her or something like that. Thank goodness. I mean, I don't want any harm done to anybody, but that would have been pretty fucking off the wall crazy of a moment right there. But whenever we ever seen a snake shown on TV in a long time, I mean, outside of Jake the Snake Roberts, nobody else has done that. So I think that was pretty cool. After that was the main event. That was Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara as the Les Sex Gods. Which, I don't know why the fuck they came up with that name, but okay, whatever. You know? This matchup, awesome fucking street fight. They were wearing street clothes, number one. I particularly choose the ring gear, but then again, at the same time, when you really look at it, they're having a street fight. They're going to compete possibly in the streets. Why not wear the street clothes anyway? It's only a one-time thing. So I get that point of view. Overall, this match was fucking off the wall crazy. Couple of things I remember from this match. This matchup got at least 30 minutes. This was a guaranteed 4.5 out of 5 stars. I mean, the only reason why I didn't give it a 5 is because it just didn't have... It had moments of being slow, kind of dull, but majority of it, overall, like 95% of it, was fucking great. One portion of this matchup that I couldn't believe was Kenny Omega had this somewhat like forklift type of thing. I mean, it wasn't a forklift, but it was an elevator type of vehicle. You see them all the time at like airports and shit, to allow people to get into the plane. I believe that's what it's used for. I'm not quite sure. For like a worker around the airport that I believe does something on the plane itself. I'm not 100% sure, but you get what I'm saying. It elevates it's an elevated machine that lifts you higher up in the air. Well, Kenny Omega climbs all the way to the top while Matt Hardy's brawling with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. And he does a fucking moonsault off the top of this thing. He's about 20 feet in the fucking air. He almost slipped, by the way. He could have broke his fucking neck. And he ends up, anyway, making that move look beautiful. Shawn Michaels would have been proud. I mean, it was fucking off the walls crazy. Insane maneuver, great spot, very entertaining shit. Another spot that reminded me of the old days. Now, granted, it wasn't no pickup truck or a fucking beer semi-truck or something like that, like Steve Austin used to do. But Matt Hardy decided to steal a golf cart that was on the outside of the arena and ram it right into Sammy Guevara, knocking him on the ground. Well, I went ahead and I texted my best friend, Matt, and I stated to him, Broken Matt, 632, just said I whipped your ass. Oh, man. I just thought that would be funny to state because of the fact that it reminded me of something Steve Austin would do. And you don't want to steal the 316 gimmick, so I, multiplied it by 2, or added by 2. And, you get what I mean. Or multiply it by 2 and you get 632. But you get my point. Fucking great shit. Great shit. The numbers game eventually comes to the end of Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy's run here. You also get to see Matt Hardy play both characters, Broken Matt Hardy and Matt Hardy himself. Very much like Mick Foley here. I thought that was cool. But the numbers game play up on the Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. Chris Jericho hits the Judas Effect elbow, back elbow to the head. and he pins Kenny Omega, gets the 1-2-3. Match is over. They're standing in front, I think, of the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium where the scoreboard is. I think that's correct. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. But it looked like they had like a sign with fireworks for the Inner Circle's logo. Now, how the fuck better way, like what better way can you close out AEW Dynamite than that? I mean, that you can't get any better than that. So, that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I have to say at this time for this episode. Very enjoyable stuff. 100% worth your time to go back and watch. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. If you have seen it, hey, if you feel like you got an itch to scratch and you want to watch a fucking great show and rewatch something, this is definitely it. This is well worth your time to go back and rewatch it. I'd probably watch 3 of the matches out of the whole entire card. The rest of it I would just skip, except for the promos with MJF and some of the other things that went on during the show for the promos. And that's about it. But anyway, guys, hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And would someone please leave a gosh darn comment down below? I will get back to you on that. If you guys haven't seen my last video for a WCW Nitro versus WWF Raw is War, I have 10 comments between myself, and 2 other subscribers to my channel. Okay? I absolutely enjoyed talking with them. But, guys, let's get real here. I need some more comments, more interaction. There's nothing. Spill your opinions out on me, whether you agree with me or you don't agree with me. State what they are. If you don't agree with me, great. Gives more reason for us to dispute things and debate on stuff about what I like, what you don't like, and so on and so forth. So go for it. Say whatever you would like at this point in time. Leave a comment down below. I will get back to you on that. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.